Welcome to another edition of Consensus Unreality.
Well, I was gonna do the intro. I was gonna say, well, now I forgot my joke. I guess we're talking about the out-of-body experience today and all of the baggage or lack thereof that subject brings along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this man, what an incredible and strange tale woven into the text for tonight. Actually just finished a couple hours ago. Very excited to crack into this
Whoa, you finished that whole
strange
thing?
book. First off, I will direct our listeners to patreon.com/consensusunreality, where you can access our full episode archive. That includes past public episodes as well as all of our exclusive Patreon episodes of the last 5 years. That culminates to over 150 hours of exclusive audio at Patreon. Also available is our Journal of Shells. We just mailed our sixth edition, our sixth volume, and it came with two bonus printed bound volumes. So that was really fun. That comes right to your
Yeah,
mailbox. You get
they're
all
all
the
on their
other
way.
Patreon features with that subscription.
Yep,
If you were wondering where we were at for the past couple weeks, we were cooking on Patreon. We did an incredible, fun episode about the Bigfoot conspiracy. Also talked
that was
about
fun.
the murders in the Rue Morgue, Bela Lugosi film. We did another episode before that as well.
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, yeah. So you missed a couple episodes if you've only been checking out the Patreon stuff, but we're up. I mean, if you've only been checking out the public, rather, but we're up on Patreon every week. So it's the best way to support the show. It's only $5 a month. I don't even know. That's like the price of a Gatorade, a donut, a cup of coffee. Think about throwing that our way, and you'll unlock all of that bonus stuff consistently delivered, signed, sealed, delivered. That's the ad portion of the show. I'm very excited to get into this topic tonight, Ben. Um,
Me too. It's only the cost of how much it costs to produce one penny.
yeah, I don't know. That's a whole. Maybe we can do a bonus 3 hour Patreon about the penny after.
Oh no. I don't
Yeah,
like I don't no no. Um
I know that I'm dealing with some limited precept here in terms of unpacking this rote, but the reason that the reason I was interested in listening to an audio of Robert Monroe's Far Journeys of 1985, the sequel to his very famous and well-known book Journeys Out of the Body, one of the seminal texts on the out of body experience. Um the reason this came back into my mind recently is because I kind of saw a portion of this book, Far Journeys, being used in some conspiratorial lines of thinking in a couple of different instances. What I'm referring to there is a portion of the book which has earned the colloquial term the Loosh Garden. You can actually go on YouTube. Somebody has just segmented the audio, the short audio of that on YouTube, and it kind of gets painted as this negative, almost matrix-like vision of creation, and that's why it's so susceptible to being utilized in these anti-transhumanist uh, conspiratorial lines of thinking or threading. Or I've heard it on some different podcasts as well. Have you encountered that? Because that's kind of what made me want to listen to the whole thing, read the whole book,
Loosh.
unpack it, and see where he's coming from, how he arrived at this. And I think some wonderful stuff kind of came out of that. So, have you heard people mention and talk about the Loosh concept before?
The Loosh farm.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Loosh garden. Yeah.
I think they think of it as like the, aliens or whatever entities feeding on our suffering in a sort of uh, Black Lodge, Twin Peaks sense. I have certainly seen that, and
Yeah, Garmin
actually
Bozick.
hadn't really even put together that this was a Robert Monroe conception, whole cloth. I thought for some reason it had come either later, like out of some kind of internet situation, or maybe earlier in some like it sounds like something that, like grok that a 60s sci-fi writer might have come up with, and then like some loser kind of like took it and ran with it. So I kind of I didn't really know. And so it was cool to see where it came from, which is actually, Far Journeys by Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute and the Gateway Experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say, assuming some people don't know who Robert Monroe is,
He's a
but I'm
Titan.
sure a lot of people listening to this are familiar with the Gateway experience, the apparent CIA exploration of the out of body experience, remote viewing. Uh,
Yeah.
it was included in a dossier that is archived on CIA.gov. It was actually commissioned by the United States Army. So there isn't any record that the CIA actually had anything to do with the Gateway experience. Now you can,
Probably not. You never know who's funding these things deep down and who's like a front for what. But it is funny that
yeah,
it got this lore as like that like there's spies and like, the CIA agents are like with Robert Monroe doing his sort of meditation, his very out there. Like if you actually do the Hemisync stuff, which is what the applications or whatever you'd call them are called, they're very out there. And so really, it was just hosted on the CIA's website as like a dossier put together by that already very out there Army fellow. The what was his name again?
was it McGonagall?
Maybe. Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I forget which major is, but if you look up the Gateway experience, his name's attached on the dossier.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound dismissive either. I think that there's certainly precedent to imagine scenarios which parapsychology and things have been explored in MK Ultra adjacent
Yeah.
projects. We know about the Ingo Swan remote viewing stuff out of SRI, and I'm sure there's some dodgy funding and wires crossed in that. We talked about the Gateway experience in our interview with Carmelo Pampolonio. I'm
Right.
sorry if I just butchered his last name, but having trouble with the vowels maybe. But yeah, I mean, he had some fascinating insights on the uh, technical aspects of the binaural audio in the Hemisync, um, and the Gateway experience at large. Some great information in that interview if you wanted to backtrack. Ben and I have also talked about uh, our own indulgences of the Gateway experience audio. I've been doing it this week.
Really? Yeah, I did one last night actually, and maybe we can talk about our experiences a little later.
Yeah, let's put that on the back end.
But I think it should be public. People have to know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I recommend it. I mean, I don't.
It's great. It's
I
very
think
strange.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll save that for the back end. This book, I think for my what I was looking for, really the second half of the book, which deals with uh things like non-human intelligences, sort of astral intelligences and cosmology building. I think there's a lot of literary references that I feel I've encountered abstractly through that material as well. I think the first part kind of it builds out of Journeys Out of the Body and
Yeah.
the Monroe Institute. But it really, when it gets into the testimonial of other dreamers and other explorers, I think it's called the Explorer Group, is what it's
Yeah.
referred to in the book. Going out and going past their second astral body extending out into these and encountering these guiding forces, these non-human intelligences, never human intelligences,
Right.
and the different planes therein, I think, is where some of that really interesting world building comes out of. It really, to me, with these things, I'm never that interested in parsing out the reality of the experience, though I am curious. Certainly, it does arise that, you want to get Bob Monroe at the dinner table and just, sort of be like, so what did you actually see? Because you could really put yourself in a place that um, there's a lot of possibly fictitious leisure being written into this book. I certainly get shades of Philip K. Dick, I think, almost like Adjustment Bureau type stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And also like the Law of One stuff feels very
oh, of course, yeah.
connected to this. And I was surprised by just how much like world building there is in this book. Like how much he's trying to maybe he's not trying to do this actually. I want to say it in a way that's not dismissive because it's really interesting. How much the book feels like it is presenting a coherent system.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I really like about it, actually, is if you are curious to try and enter into the realms that he's and others are documenting in their sort of journaling, you can do it. Like he gives you the tools to do it. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like people should be weary of ingesting mind altering substances and stuff. I don't know if I sound crazy in saying that, but like certainly you could yeah use some
You
psychedelics
do.
to try and get there, although maybe that will like is sort of slingshotting you into altered states, whereas this sort of builds these protocols and you're not ingesting mind alter you're totally sober, you know.
Kind of. It does feel really weird doing it. So I wouldn't say it's not mind altering, but I think that right, you have more control over it than you do with a chemical substance, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, in terms of psychonauting, there's no doubt that you're trying to induce an altered state. And I think that people um might be like, well, you don't kind of know that the conspiratorial line of thinking there might be that you don't know that the sort of subliminal technology that you're ingesting or something like that
Your
that's getting you
dealer,
there.
you don't know your dealer.
Yeah, yeah. I feel a little more glass half full on the Monroe Institute. Maybe that's naive, but that's just kind of my read.
Yeah, I mean, the first half of the book is really him recounting his experience kind of founding the institute and some of the strange, almost synchronicity like experiences that he had. And that really gives you of course, it's his book and he's not going to cast himself in like a sinister light, but he really just seems like a guy. He's like I don't even really know how to explain what it's like. It's not really folksy. Like he's not like, he seems like rather intelligent and with it, but I don't know. He just like seems like a guy that this happened to, as opposed to like someone like, um, Puharich or someone like that who's like really in it and is like building these things out like with you know allegedly little regard for other human beings. Monroe seems more like, whoa, this like crazy shit happened to me. I left my body and I want to try and figure out what that means and I want to show other people how to do it so we can together try to like map this out. Whether when it became an institute, the Monroe Institute, that became more bureaucratic or if there were some kind of sinister angle to it, I don't know. Uh, I would think probably not, but I haven't really looked into it that much. I'm sure there are people out there who are commenting on YouTube videos like the Monroe Institute's covering up demons who are sucking on us.
yeah.
Like So, I'm sure there's
It's-
gripes, but I
yeah,
don't know.
the mind parasite Loosh
Yeah.
thing. And I mean, I think that like one of our MOs on the show is we don't I think that we don't just like do a topic and then be like, all right, we're on to the next thing. Although we may move on to something else for another episode, like every point of interest for us is certainly like a continuing point of interest. So I certainly intend and am very curious in kind of unpacking Robert Monroe's like literature, other literature that he's written, and possible lines of influence. Because as I mentioned, I do sense um certain literary devices and influences that have infiltrated certainly like the Philip K. Dick thing, not only the Adjustment Bureau, but some of the jargony terminology that
Yeah, yeah.
he has in this book for the sort of astral astronauts. It's kind of cute, and it also reminds of like something like the second book in the Valis trilogy. What's that one called?
The divine
Div-
invasion.
Divine Invasion. Like it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of those scenarios and maybe some Valis stuff as well. Um,
Yeah, it has a sci-fi flavor to it, which I also feel like he's very self-conscious or aware of that. There's a part in the book where he devotes to talking about how hard it is to translate what does he call it? Non-verbal communication, maybe. Uh which is also an interesting use of that phrase, which is kind of a well-established area of study in like linguistics and psychology, but he's kind of using it. It seems to incorporate both that and also like telepathic communication.
mhm.
Uh, so he's trying to say that it's really hard to talk about the kinds of things that are imparted over these wordless communications. So he's needing to come up with um, these new terms, which are definitely kind of like what like I'm sure there's a glossary somewhere, but like what are some of the good ones? I'm blanking at the moment.
Oh well, like
I think
a rote
blank
is
is one,
sort of
isn't
the
it?
yeah, a rote or a rote is like the packet, the sort of like
Right.
astral download that you get, flickering, clicking in and out.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can kind of imagine what those things mean. Smoothing is kind of when you come back into like an
Right.
astral conversation. It 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 paints the picture well. It's written really well, which I like. It's very visual, and it's a very linear narrative for something very non-linear. I also do it almost feels at times like an ecstatic mystic religious text. It certainly reminds of um the agony and ecstasy of Saint Teresa or the vision of Ezekiel. At times there's things that certainly uh conjure Dante's Inferno. um,
Yeah.
and I think what you're talking about too is cool because if we can jump onto the Loosh Garden topic, like that is really sort of a pinnacle. He's building through these communications with non-human intelligences, these sort of groups of astral teachers, but then also sort of um, other beings who are kind of on the same but different levels as humans, and don't
Yeah.
really know anything of Earth experience. So we're kind of like having these exchanges with them. He also really deals with the concept of ghosts, of demonic possession, of like a hitchhiker effect. It kind of makes this book in that wheelhouse of like all encompassing cosmologies that we kind of talk about, something like Passport to Magonia or The Eighth Tower or The Goblin Universe. These books that researchers of UFOs or the paranormal sort of kind of take all their ideas into and develop as best they can with the research and experiences that they've had a sort of unified field theory. And I really enjoy those kinds of books because they're not
Yeah.
perfect, but it's just one person kind of culminating what they've got into some kind of theory at that time. And I think this fits really well into that, even though it's not billed as that. It really has the hallmark of that to me, while
Right.
also having uniquely personal visionary stuff, which I don't think is in. Uh, it's not really in something like the Eighth Tower because Keel is always approaching it more journalistically, um,
Yeah.
and through other people's experiences. And I feel like that's kind of with Valet as well. The Goblin universe, I would say it's in there, but it's sort of in there through these emanations of menacing paranormal encounters that are quantified in these strange ways.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess it does kind of fit into that in that framework because it almost feels like he like not inadvertently, but stumbles into, finding answers to all of these strange paranormal questions just by virtue of the thing that he's doing, which is
Filtering the M band noise.
yeah, and talking to people who are in these trance states, like actively out there. I don't know, it just feels like it kind of yeah, by nature of the kind of book it is, it kind of has to have that quality to it. I love also the when he starts the book talking about he uses this like long metaphor about like speedways and like somebody who like doesn't want to go on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this long metaphor about his like I have a friend who doesn't want to get on the highway, but like it or not, they're getting rid of all the small roads and he's gonna have to get on the highway. And it's just this the whole book, I don't know, is like begun with that really strangely specific metaphor and it kind of gives it, I don't know, it almost reminds me of maybe just the voice reminds me of The Silver Bridge by Gray Barker, which
Mm,
has this
yeah.
kind of like, I mean, this is obviously a much more like diaristic or like a catalog type book than the Silver Bridge, which is almost like a fairy tale folklore thing, but it has,
Yeah. Of the Mothman encounters. Yeah.
yeah, it has this same kind of, I don't know, dreamlike, humorous, folksy. I know I said it, I didn't want to say he was folksy, but it just kind of is.
Well, it's kind of like the narrator. I know what you mean because the narrator almost has like an Atticus kind of tone. Like there's
Yeah,
a weird kind of like father figure tone to that
yeah,
older gentleman narrator type, that fits this really well. Um, and it's weird too because like it does start. I like the way that it kind of funnels because it starts very
yeah,
practical from it almost like it almost maps out like the out of body experience itself, right? Coming from the Monroe Institute. Like it starts in a more clerical um or clinical environment and then just gets stranger and stranger to the point where you arrive at this sort of inverse genesis, which is the Loosh Garden, when he's revealed the our creation story to a degree. Now he
yeah,
understands later, and this is like the big point for me about the whole Loosh Garden thing is that if you just focus on that aspect of the book, which is, in audio, it's 23 minutes out of a 10-hour book.
yeah,
It paints a very negative picture of a sort of harvesting of our emotional energy to be used by some external entity or forces. Um, and that sounds terrible. I mean, that sounds like some sort of mind parasite,
right.
Anunnaki enslavement. Like it fits all these ancient aliens kind of new myths. And that's sort of why it's such an easy thing to be projected onto, I believe. But
Yeah.
he explains it out in a very different way. Um, for him, it sort of becomes in the first place like not being able to understand very abstract non-human concepts and trying to import them into a human sense of understanding. So I mean, I think that kind of across the landscape of the spiritual, the paranormal is certainly an issue that's encountered and can be transposed into so many different areas, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
sort of the goblinic emanations, or whatever. I mean, the tangential tantrums. I don't know. So many different like phraseologies for it. But sort of the way that you perceive these things might not actually be the way that they are. Uh, and I think there's also sort of an element of relinquishing control. And I think maybe like learning that the beginning isn't like the most important part of the story. So like no matter what our creation myth is or the reality of our creation, it's more important to think about where we're going, where we're progressing to, where we're evolving. I
That's
think is
funny. Yeah.
kind of what he's getting at.
Because that's
Uh,
so that's so against what so much of the conspiratorial thing is, like the ancient alien slave race thing, the uh even like the later like interpretations of what the Loosh stuff means. Like, well, if we were made to be, emotional, energetic cattle for disincarnate entities, then, we're all fucked forever. And, it's like this nihilistic thing. Um, so it's kind of interesting that he would, as you're saying, kind of move past that and be like, well, even if that's part of the story, it's obviously not all of it.
yeah, and I think the other part of that is that we're all created creators. So we all have this sort of spark of the thing that we're feeding back into. And ultimately,
Yeah.
Loosh is love. Like
Right.
the highest form of Loosh is love. So I not to really ruin the narrative of the story, but the book culminates in him being brought to a near-ish future vision of Earth around the year 3000. And that kind of feels sort of like the end of H.G. Wells' Time Machine a little bit, but Time Machine ends with a um, socio-political uh, metaphor for the different the evolution of the different classes and things like that. But
Yeah.
what he's brought to is a perfected humanity that becomes more, and maybe this is where people who have gotten this far in the book can start to gather some sort of transhumanist stuff, although it's not like it doesn't track with the sort of like techno uh transhumanism of Silicon Valley or something like that. Like it's not like that. It's more sort of being of like a quantum mind where uh we become non-physically conscious, therefore we inhabit a totality of earth consciousness. And it's very panpsychist in that way, and that we
Yeah.
become like, not just to say like we become aligned with earth and we make everything better in that way, but we literally like can move through every consciousness on earth. And that sort of gets into some kind of graduation program, a la somebody like Dolores Cannon or something, or the School of Hard
Yeah.
Knocks. We're here to learn. uh Getting all my references in with this one. But there's like a point where once you have gotten enough of your earth experience, you certainly go fully non-human and transcend whatever. But it does amount to this beautiful picture of sort of refining um a human evolution
Yeah.
to a higher level of ascended consciousness. And I know that this like sort of new age terminology, it's the only way to say it, but like he puts it very beautifully in the book. And I think that that kind of stuff is a bit exhausted in the cultural milieu. There's a certain
Yeah.
level of cynicism that anybody is going to have when they hear stuff like that. But I think that also kind of means that we sort of lost a belief in a sort of evolving spiritual ascension of humankind. Um, right? I mean,
You think we've lost that, or we've lost that as a vision for ourselves?
I think we've hit a bump in the road. I don't think that it's stopped, but I think that
It might be
uh
stopped. It might be
I,
a sinkhole, not a pothole.
I don't know. I don't really feel that way. I got a pretty
We're done.
glass half full
I'm
outlook.
just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
But that's a long it's long history, you know? I mean, and that's kind of what one of the other teaching factors of this book is. It certainly has a reincarnation element.
Yeah, I
Um
noticed that a lot. And that's tough for me because I don't understand, like, no matter how much I look into it, I don't understand reincarnation because it creates like in my mind, it creates like a grid system. It creates a thing that would necessitate some kind of like flow chart. And I just don't, I can't picture how that would work. And so then I kind of lose, I can kind of understand it, but I have trouble with reincarnation as a concept because I don't know, because that's just how it is.
Understandably. Yeah, maybe like you don't need to understand it right now, you know? Like I
No,
think
that
may
would be great. If it's real and like it works, I don't really that's great. If that's like
yeah.
the nature of reality, that's I think that's really beautiful and interesting. But like the human presentation of it, I find like I find hard to understand in the same way that I have a hard time understanding like calculus or something. It's
Hmm.
like, well then where is this? Like, it kind of just makes me feel like um I'm failing a multiplication test when I'm 8 years old.
Fair enough. That reminds me of a couple different parts in the book. One of which is he goes into the future and he is supposed to explain to future humans on what happens to them after they ascend planet Earth. And he's like, I feel like a boy trying to do a man's job. This is like really weird. It's kind of funny. I just
That
got
reminds me of Interstellar. I hate Do you
yeah.
hate Interstellar or do you love Interstellar?
I'm pretty neutral on it. I think it's entertaining and
Yeah.
figures out some sci-fi concepts in an interesting way.
But like I'm watching it in my lifetime become like a classic. Like I'm seeing people refer to it in like this sort of like hushed tones. And I think that like it's such I think it's just so corny. I'm just like, what are you taught? Like, just watch 2001. But
Yeah,
it's like,
or Solaris.
or Solaris.
Yeah, but they I think all three of those are maybe Interstellar and Solaris are a little bit closer, though expressly very different in what they're saying.
Yeah, I
Whereas
just mean the time loop
2001 feels
thing.
like it's not saying the same thing as
It's
those.
not saying the same thing, but I
Definitely
feel
not
like it,
Solaris.
yeah, it has a similar shape. I
Yeah.
don't know. Anyway, yeah. This Parts of this book did remind me of like Interstellar, uh, which I'm sure somebody on that production has read some Monroe because just the way I don't know the way that they illustrate things in that film feels like similar to how Monroe describes like weird time stuff and like using the exploration techniques to go far.
Yeah. I know. I don't think I think he does a better job obviously a much better job of like making these concepts legible or
Yeah, well, he's a
understandable.
book, and we're not a book.
He's a book.
Yeah, now he is. Yeah.
Well, he's a book. He's a fucking pillar. He's a cloud. He's a panther. He's a fish. Does a lot
And
of
a,
things in this one.
I was gonna do a Shrek voice and a donkey.
Oh fuck me. Uh,
And I hate Shrek too, by the way.
yeah, you're killing it. Don't put that on
So
your dating app profile.
already on there.
Interstellar, Shrek 2 suck. Um, that's pretty funny. Yeah. I also it's a very clean book in the way that uh questions of reincarnation, of divine providence, they always raise similar issues in people of why do children get sick and die, or why do people go out and murder other people?
It's
What's the
because of their
point of
past
that?
lives, because they were bad in their past life. That's why our kid's
Um,
sick.
that's not what he says. I
No,
mean,
I
he's
know.
got different
I'm being cruel.
explanations that kind of make sense, but
What does he
not like
say?
totally make sense. But I'm not
Yeah.
going to say it because it sounds dumb. But in the context of the book, it makes sense.
It's
And
because their loosh was really, really
I
bad.
know that if I isolate it and just say some of the reasons, it's going to be like swallowing my foot. But I'll just I'll say that it's just interesting that he approaches it and doesn't necessarily be like, this is why this happens, but when he says certain things, you're like, oh, I see what he's saying there. I see what
Yeah,
he did
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And he does the same thing with ghosts and with demonic possession, where he's not explicitly like demonic possession is actually A and ghosts are actually
Yeah, yeah.
B. But he goes into describing something, and then you're like, I see what he's doing there. That's kind of nice. And that's
Right.
where the unified field theory thing comes into play.
Yeah. I kind of like he's cool because well, maybe I'm just falling for it, but he doesn't really feel like a guru in the way that he easily could with, given his position in the thing that he's created. Um, he's even, up to his death, he kind of, from the interviews that I kind of watched with him and listened to, he seems like he was still kind of just like, oh, I'm still trying to like, we're still trying to tweak this thing to make it, work, and we're trying to figure out where we fit into all this. It seemed more honest maybe than I'm not going to name any names, but than it could be if you've kind of built something around, yeah, around your metaphysical theories.
I agree, and I am certainly guilty of not knowing. Like, well, this is an episode about this book. It's not really about Robert Monroe's biography, which I know a little bit about, but I don't know in depth. Like, maybe
Yeah,
somebody could be like, "Are you kidding me?" Of course. Do you know how much money the Monroe Institute took in 1993? I have no idea. Um,
yeah,
but it's possible. I just don't know. But I agree with you on the surface of what I've encountered thus far.
yeah,
It
yeah,
seems
yeah.
very endearing. And although I think a lot of people have issues with this book and feel that it does too much world building and maybe fairy tale writing,
Right.
um,
I don't mind that though.
I don't mind that at all. But I think that that has an adverse effect with people, especially people who've had out of body experiences or, are interested in astral projection. I think might have an take issue with maybe how literary or visual or narrative these experiences are, or fantastic for that matter, because they certainly
Yeah,
are. Um, yeah, I could see that. Again, I think he does a pretty good job of in the book keeping the line that these are perceptions of these experiences. Um, and although they certainly feel external, um, he's not explicitly saying that it's totally what it was, like it's a percept. It's the way that it was
right.
perceived by the traveler, the explorer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a worthwhile book, even if you haven't read his first one, which I kind of want to do now. Yeah, I think it's a weirder than you'd think it would be. You kind of think of it as, oh, this is just like a diary of remote viewing or something like that, but it's much stranger. It feels more like a, and this is not like with a negative connotation, but it feels much more like a work of the imagination or something um than some of those other 80s and 90s out of body things where they're trying to like almost aim it at like a military application, which is
Mm,
kind of how I
hmm.
always
Yeah.
in my head kind of prejudged his works. They would be like kind of a scientistic like angling to get funding or something. But they're no, they're whole hog wacko.
Yeah. Yeah. He's almost got like a little bit of William Blake to it too, right? Like
Yeah.
heaven and hell. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh
interesting.
I don't know. It's yeah, way cooler than you'd think.
And if you wanted
Yeah.
that, if you wanted the more what a more straight-laced book about
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
experiences, you could read the first book, which that is that kind
Yeah.
of builds. And we listened to an audio of that a couple of years ago for an episode, right?
I
I
mean,
think,
maybe parts of it.
yeah, when
I'd like to revisit that because I certainly didn't read the whole thing.
we did an episode on the Gateway experience and the conspiracy aspect in the past, and then we did the interview with Carmelo as well, which talked more about it. And I remember listening to an audio of Journeys Out of the
Yeah.
Body.
I mostly
And
remember the Bentov Stalking the Wild Pendulum book
true, yeah.
from that era, which is also a real wacky trip. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was doing last night the Hemisync. I was like, I'm just gonna do a random a random one, which is
Nice.
of course
Yeah,
the wrong thing
skipping a
to
level.
do.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the when I did them
Throwing
about a
the
year ago,
prerequisites out the window.
yeah. When I did it like a year ago, I did the first several lessons kind of night by night and had some real wacky experiences, really interesting, a little bit frightening actually. Um, this time I was like, I'm just going to whatever, like in the middle. And so there's a bunch of stuff that it's a voice guided meditation for those who haven't done it. He'll talk, tell you to do some stuff. There's ocean in the background. Tones come in, very spooky kind of chanting that you're supposed to vocalize along with, which I am too embarrassed to do even if I'm alone.
Yeah.
But which I tried to do a little bit.
When you do a
And
low level chant, it just
yeah,
sounds like you're doing kind of like a grunt
yeah,
snore, I think.
it's very
Yeah.
it would be very humiliating.
You got to go full hog with the chant, I think.
um, so yeah, I was into it, and like there's this thing about a balloon now, and it's like there's all this new stuff that I didn't remember.
You got to build your reball,
Yeah, like this big
your
thing you're supposed. Yeah,
resonant energy balloon.
right.
Yeah, that's to
Um,
protect you, man.
it did, and so then, well, I didn't know that until after. So I was kind of like in like the 5 minutes or so where you're kind of just post resonant chanting, sitting there with the noise,
Oh,
and
dude, that's what you get when you skip the level. You're about to go out there without a reball.
I know.
So
So
you
I
could
was
have left
raw.
your body open to all kinds of stuff. You don't even know what's
Um,
gotten in you.
well, that's interesting. So my experience was I was kind of rising and like looking around my room whilst kind of in bed, looking out into the hallway. I rose up through the ceiling a little bit and really weird. I was like stuck. I couldn't get further than like 20 feet out of my body. And this is all, and it's like in this weird zone
It's pretty good.
between like imagining it, which is kind of what it is. You're kind of imagining it. It's not like I'm unaware that I'm laying in bed,
Yeah.
but I'm also like very vividly in my mind and in some other way outside of the body, like just kind of wandering around. And then I get like scared back into myself when he's like, "Okay, now it's time to get your balloon going." I'm like, "My
Yeah.
what?"
That's
Oh
usually
shit.
that's usually when I wake up is when he
Yeah.
starts talking again.
And then he starts talking, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so then I did the resonant energy balloon, that exercise, and then like the very like more subtle moves of like very slowly rising up in your balloon up into the, up upwards. And so I kind of did that, and but just the so really I didn't get very far. I kind of looked at my house a little bit from above with my head kind of poking up out the roof. Just a little bit of looking around. And it really is a peculiar state because it's not like anything I would ever do laying in bed meditating. It's
Hmm.
like, and I don't know if it's because you're expecting to like want to be out of your body looking around, but immediately I'm like, that's where I'm going. I'm in this meditative state and I'm pulling a little bit out of my body and looking around the room. And it's not exactly the same as remembering what my room looked like the last time I saw it. It's very hard to explain, actually. It does feel like you're actually looking at your room and whatever right now. I don't know. It's very strange. I'm gonna keep experimenting with it because it's been about a year. And the last time
Yeah.
I did it, I went back in time and it was like it
Oh,
was trippy.
damn.
Well, not far
Which
back. I visited like past moments. This time I tried to look at myself.
mm,
Uh, like I tried to like leave the body and then look back down, and I found that very unpleasant.
interesting. I like that though.
uh,
That's good.
difficult.
There's certainly whatever it is, whatever this whole thing is, there's something to just thinking in different ways that you don't like. You're usually just on this
Right.
sort of autopilot mode of thinking rationally and going through routines. And when you're thinking in these new ways and using your brain in these new ways, especially in a isolated environment, whether that just be, with headphones on and something
Yeah.
over your eyes or your eyes closed in a dark space, and just sort of actively utilizing these different, cortexes in this isolated environment is going to create these scenarios, these strange
Yeah.
events.
I'm lucky
And
a Loosh farmer didn't get me.
well, the loosh farmers are getting you
Right.
all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time, but
Ah, shoot.
it's fine because,
Yeah. Right. It's
in
just
the
love,
we learn how to just be producers of loosh
like a
and we
cow.
give into it. And then we're like, one day I'll be a loosh farmer like my dad.
Yeah, that'll be fun. You can wear the Loosh overalls and straw hat. Did you have any experiences with your meditations?
I went back to the beginning, like the first
Yeah,
tapes, because it's been a couple
I
of
gotta do
years
that.
since I. No, I think that what you did was right because I think the first couple are just sort of like about getting yourself into this meditative state, and
Yeah,
certainly the binaural audio uh helps. I usually fall asleep, but I have
yeah.
some pretty interesting dreams with it.
Mm,
But I'm also doing it at nighttime on a weekday after a long day of work, so
right.
it's not really the right, time or
Yeah.
amount of energy that I should have to be messing with it. But I think I'm gonna bump myself up, to the next packet.
Just go to the end.
Look for some rotes out there.
I was
Try
really
to
worried that when I did mine, I was gonna see a monster's face, like right up against my face.
yeah.
Like I was gonna close my eyes and like start like imagining myself, uh, spiritually wandering around, and I'd see like a monster, like a scary like goblin bug,
Mm,
but I didn't.
mantoid.
Yeah, wouldn't that be horrible if like you're like, oh whoa, I can see my house, and then like you look down,
Yeah.
and you're like, why is there a giant monster hovering over me?
Yeah. 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 So yeah,
What's
you
it?
look at your body and there's just something entering it like in the end of episode 8.
Yeah.
Episode 8 Twin Peaks. Yeah. Yeah, that would be terrible. And you might, I don't know. I mean, I think
Or
if
like
anything,
just
what
yeah.
this kind of stuff is
Hmm.
it's really putting out there is there's a vast ecology of
Monsters.
intelligent emanations of,
Yeah.
of consciousness in the I don't know, it's beyond the universe, it's trans universal, right? I mean, it's like beyond the galaxy, beyond the universe, beyond the physical realm, but whatever. There's a vast ecology of things. So there's all
And
sort of
stuff.
intentions. Like it's not just like you
Right.
take ayahuasca and then you meet the gods. So it's like you meet some gods, right? Like there's
Or you meet ayahuasca.
yeah. And I think this
Yeah.
is maybe that's the inflection point too, where people are like, you meet no gods, you meet only devils, and there's one God,
Yeah.
and he
I
don't
don't
like
know
that.
about that. That doesn't make sense to me. Although,
It's a very easy way to. I mean, if you're trying to get some subs on Twitter, you go that route. I mean,
yeah,
this
right.
stuff just
There's
you
one God, Deus Vult.
you could just keep picking up these books and feeding that
Right.
dragon. Yeah,
Maybe we should become like a right-wing Catholic podcast.
only a matter of time, my friend.
No, I can't do that. I can't take
Yeah,
stuff seriously enough to be like that.
yeah.
Life is too messed up to be like
What's so messed up? You got a book. You're like you love books and you own a bookstore. What are
well
you
no,
crying about?
I'm not crying. You don't think life is
Go
messed up?
produce some loosh, dude.
I'm I'm sweating loose right now, up to my eyeballs.
Yeah. Well, I'll have some more. I'm gonna keep going with the Monroe tapes, and hopefully, I'll have some genuine non-sleeping experiences to report. But it's been all Z's for me.
I hope you
Some
come
beautiful
next
Z's
time
though. Yeah,
and you're like you come back next time, you're like, well, I was doing it and I flew up a little bit and I looked down and I saw a, a big lizard hugging
yeah.
my body
Oh, if it's hugging, I don't know.
too tight.
Oh, yeah.
And its
Oh.
legs are wrapped around me and its tail's wrapped around me
Yeah. What kind of
and
legs
it's
does this lizard have?
it's licking my face.
Yeah, lizards usually got notoriously small limbs. No.
No, this is like a lizard man.
Uh, who knows? I mean, maybe. Yeah.
It could happen to you, listener.
Yeah. It's only a
Uh,
fragment of time in the long expanse of eternity.
and it's all on YouTube.
Amen. All right. I think that's pretty good. A good book. I really liked it. I think it's really interesting. I recommend it for
Yeah,
fans of all this weird stuff. I think it provides a very interesting perspective and also gives you an avenue to explore yourself without uh well, I don't know. Maybe you are putting yourself in harm's way spiritually. Who am I to say?
maybe.
But at least you're not putting
Yeah.
your your physical mind in danger. Or
Right. You're not taking, you know, your cousin's acid that's brown.
yeah, or like 77 triple C uh Robitussin.
Right. No, you don't want to do that
Yeah.
because it's not good for you.
Yeah, and then
One
you get
final
the
note.
Hat Man.
I've been digging a little bit into Tuning the Human Instrument by Stephen Halpern, the
We
wonderful
love
New
them.
Age composer. And it's really interesting. I kind of bought it for the shop to sell. It's a really nice, like kind of homemade edition. I assume maybe a first. Um, but I don't know. I kind of want to spend some time with it first because it's just, I don't know. I really like his music and he's so prolific. And it kind of seems to be just laying out a framework for his, you buy a record of a Halpern record and it's like, you're supposed to be doing this way. Like it has like instructions and stuff, and then you're like, I'm
Hmm.
not doing that. I'm just gonna put it on.
Yeah.
And but this is kind of like maybe I should, have another look at those CDs and maybe I should try them because now that I've done the Hemisync stuff again, maybe I should be more open to tuning my instrument.
Yeah, dude. You're a certified explorer.
I'm an explorer. I'm gonna get a
He
tattoo on my arm that says explorer.
that'd be sick if he got like a Navy style tattoo. He's got a lot of binaural stuff as well. A lot of music for millions of records of
Steve,
music
yeah.
for meditation. If I recall correctly, there's one that's like, this is what weed feels like.
He's just
Not even kidding. It's
the absolute
definitely,
madman.
yeah, he's a good
Uh,
one.
I like him. Happy to happy to dig into his writings too,
I
because
think that like I could imagine somebody listening to this episode up to this point and being like, these fucking guys are saying that the Monroe Institute isn't a conspiracy. And then you bring up Steve Halpern and they're like, I'm saying Stephen Halpern isn't a conspiracy.
yeah, he's not.
Uh
Nobody thinks that. There's no like Stephen Halpern is
I've
MK
seen
Ultra.
no, there are. Yeah.
There are.
It's out.
He's
Oh yeah, it's out
he's
there.
just a regular guy. He's just trying his best,
Dude,
and these
Stanford,
yeah, whatever. It's
got
just
him.
Stephen Halpern.
Locked and loaded.
And
It's all out there.
this is a podcast, Consensus Unreality, you've been listening to. Check back soon for more episodes.
Absolutely. And if you like what we do and you want to hear us regularly every week, go to patreon.com/consensusunreality and join up. If you weren't a subscriber, you've missed Hiding Bigfoot, Rue Morgue, Going Ape Shit. Our other episode you missed was Flying Info Hazards, Grail Curses, Trauma Horror, Post Halloween Melt, Poltergeist Phenomena, The Bell Witch, Horror Flicks, and Haunted Trips. You missed all these. So check that out. Patreon.com/consensusunreality. Thank you for listening to this episode. We'll catch you next time.